Hi, and welcome to Your Inside Power. My name is Patricia Stepler, and I am your host for this show. And today, my question for you with that in mind, we're going to figure out how to change what's going on inside our minds so that you change your results. Wayne Dyer had this quote, and it was, when you change the way you look at something, what you look at changes. Let's get a little deeper into that. When you change the way you look at something, what you look at changes. So we look at a situation one way, and then if we'll just totally 180 degrees change that, we're going to see something different. Well, this is the way we need to start thinking about our inside powers that we have, because you see, inside of us, we have the power to make those changes. But how do we do that? Well, we do that by shifting how we're looking at a situation. I often tell people I'm a Libra. So one of the things about Libras is you see all sides of something. And I always say, I don't know if it has anything to do with me in Libra. I'm not really into astrology. Maybe somebody else could tell me. But what I do notice is the more I study understanding different perspectives, and the more I work on myself to understand other people and other people's points of views, and to look at all the other possibilities, the more possibilities I see. So it's easy in any given situation for me to look at it from one angle and then go maybe 15 degrees, look at it from another angle, go another 15 degrees, look at it from another angle, and I can see different perspectives of the same thing. And when you do that, it's changing. And that's what I think most people don't do enough of. We have one idea and we become so laser focused that that's the only possibility. And that if somebody doesn't agree with us, well, they're wrong then. But we have to start realizing that there's a lot of different options out there, and not everybody thinks the same way, thank goodness, because that makes us better as a society when we don't all think the same way, because then we get to bring in other ideas and other possibilities and other ways of doing things. And that helps innovation to soar when we're not all stuck in the same thinking. So, but I would have to help you to realize that your thinking has been programmed, and not necessarily by you. We've been programmed by the people we associate with. We've been programmed through generations. We've been programmed through our family. And, we've been programmed through media, social media, things we read. And it gets into our thinking, and we start to believe all those things, and it impacts what we do. Now, when we look at generational, what's happening generationally, it's just habits that you were, kind of like just taught how to do, and that became part of you. The influence that friends and family can have on you, or even just those innuendos that you pick up and you think they're true when maybe they aren't. So what we have to do is to start to really look at how we're thinking, and really look at our behaviors, because our behaviors are habitual. And they say that 95% of our day becomes very habitual. And if we do something different, it feels odd. I've told this story. Maybe you've heard me on social media saying that for years I'd go on a walk and I'd go out of my driveway and I'd turn left, and I always went to my left. It never occurred to me to go to my right, even though that was the way I came back. I always went to my left. And one day it was my husband was walking with me. He says, why do we always get to the left? And I said, because that's what I've always done. See, it was a habit. And when we went to the right, it was difficult. It felt wrong. I felt like I was going the wrong direction. Well, why? Because I had the habit of going left, and now I'm going right. It felt strange for so long. And then one day we came out, and instead of thinking about going right, we went left again. It was a habit. Now we almost always go right. In fact, I can't remember the last time we went left. But the point is, it felt awkward. Bob Proctor used to have participants in his seminar write their name with whatever hand they usually write with. And then he says, now put the pen in the other hand and write it again. And you felt that awkwardness. Well, that's what a paradigm's like. So if you want to know how it feels to change a habit, do one of those things. Go the different direction that you've never gone before, or put your pen in the hand that you do not usually write with and try writing your name, or try writing a sentence. And how you really have to think about it, because it's no longer a habit. When I tore my Achilles tendon a number of years ago, and I had to be off my foot for 8 weeks and in a cast, couldn't put any weight on my foot at all. And then when they finally took the cast off, and my doctor said, okay, you can start walking again with a walker. So I'm using a walker, and it felt weird because I had to actually think how to walk. Now you just get up and go and you don't think about it. But at that point, I had to actually think, okay, I put this foot down and now I have to move the other foot. And I had to think about it. Now, not very long, obviously, but at first I did have to think about what I was doing. And you just have to realize, see, those habits become so ingrained and we don't think about it. And then when we have to think about it, sometimes we have to really start to look at, is that behavior serving you? That behavior that you're not thinking about and you just automatically do, is it serving you, or is it hurting you? And if it's not serving you, if it's not good for you, stop it. Just stop it. And then we have to go back and look at, the fact that we are creatures of habit. We tend to do things the same way. And to break those habits, to shift those habits, takes effort. Now, sometimes it's maybe not a hard effort, like going out of your driveway the opposite direction for your walk. Some of those habits, like writing, if I had to write with my left hand, that would be quite a challenge, and it would take me a long time to write the same thing with my left hand as it does my right hand. So sometimes those habits are tough and they become a struggle. And because it's a struggle, that's why it's difficult to shift. You see, it sounds very easy. Okay, I just have to shift my habits. And that seems illogical and seems so easy, but it's difficult. And it takes determination. So the first thing you have to do is to make a decision. Make a decision as to what it is that you want to do. And so you have to understand that those paradigms that are stored in your subconscious mind, you have to know how to shift them if you're going to make a difference. You see, you have to, it's not a matter of changing a little things. You have to build a new model. As our Buckminster Fuller says, you have to build a new model that makes the old model obsolete. And that's what you have to do. But how do you do that? You have to do it over and over and over again. It's repetitive. How did you learn to do the things you do now? The same way. You did them over and over and over. Why did I always turn left? Because I did it over and over and over. And so we have to realize that that's the way we build a new habit. Now, here's the problem. Most of those habits that we have go way back from the time we were small children. And so we develop those habits without really thinking about them. Like even when you get dressed, if you're putting on a pair of pants, which leg do you put in first, the right or the left? Because chances are, when you were a small child, an infant, your mother either put your right leg or your left leg through the pants first. And now you do it out of habit. Try doing it the opposite way someday. I did that once. I thought I was going to fall over, so because it becomes such a habit. And changing those habits takes a conscious decision that you are going to do something different. So what I want you to realize, though, that our paradigms, our habitual habits, dictate the way we see the world. They dictate our logic. And they also put a lid on what we think we can achieve. So if you're wondering why maybe you don't achieve more, or why, you may be frustrated because you're not reaching a goal, or you'd like to do something, but you don't know how, it's your paradigms, it's your thinking, your habitual thinking that is the root of the problem. So our mind and our brain are different. Our brain is like an organ in our body. The mind is movement. It's all about movement. And it's the mind that controls the actions that we do. So even if in our conscious mind, we want to do something, and it's exactly what we want, we've made a decision, that's what we want. But in our subconscious mind, we don't believe we can do it, because that's where all our habits and all these paradigms are. And one of your paradigms is your self-image and your confidence. So if you don't have the confidence that you can do something, you won't. So you want to do something in your conscious mind, your subconscious mind says, nope, don't believe you can. See, the mind controls the movement, because mind is motion. And so you don't do anything. And that's why you stay stuck. Simple as that. It's why you stay stuck. So here's what you have to do. You have the battle is within you. So you have to make a decision. Nothing's going to happen until you make a decision. Why? Because decision means you have to change. Change is not easy for people. I just said that. To change your habit is not easy. If it felt so wrong for me to go the wrong direction out of my driveway, to go right instead of left for probably a week or two, it just felt like I was going the wrong way. I was seeing the wrong side of the house. How difficult do you think it's going to be to change something really big? I mean, that's such a small, minute thing. What's it going to do to change an income maybe from 100,000 a year to 1 million? That's a lot harder than just changing direction, going out of your driveway. So you've got thinking inside of you that has to change. So that's where the battle is. The battle is within you. It's not outside of you. It's within you. Start with small changes. Start with something small, because here's what happened. Those small changes, little by little, start to make enormous changes in time. And before you know it, you'll see that your behaviors are changing. You're going to be more confident. You're going to have built your self-image, and it all starts with small changes. So don't try, sometimes we see this with people with goals. They get all excited. Maybe they go to a seminar on goal setting. And so a lot of times in seminars, on goal setting, you'll look at different areas of your life. Very common. You'll look at your finances, you'll look at your health, you'll look at your exercise, you'll look at your job, your spiritual side of you. You look at all these different areas of your life. And all of a sudden you're like, I'm going to change this and this and this and this and this and this. And in the end, you fail because you just can't make that many changes at once. Well, it's the same thing. Like you have one big goal. Let's make a little change at a time. And as you make these little changes, before you know it, you are a different person. And a year from now, you look back and you go, wow, look how far I've come. Now, sometimes you really have to take that time to look and see how far you've come, because of it being a gradual change, sometimes you feel like you're not changing quickly. But then when you look back and you say, wow, look at all I've done in the past year. And then you start to realize it. So start by doing little things, and your results will just keep getting better and better and better. And you have to be careful because you don't want to stop. You have to keep pushing forward. And when it's uncomfortable, you have to keep growing and changing. Why? Because if you stop, by the end of the year, you'll be back where you were when you started. Isn't that funny? That's just the way it goes. Why is that? Because those paradigms are so strong, and they'll just pull you right back to where you were. Why? Well, they want to keep you safe. You see, the mind in your thinking is trying to keep you safe. It wants you to be comfortable. It doesn't want you to be worried or, stressed. Although sometimes that's exactly what you get when you're not making the progress you want. You become very stressed. But your mind is trying to protect you. It's trying to keep things familiar to you. And that's just the way, the whole mind and the brain are. So what you have to realize is that if you stop, you'll revert right back. And I don't care if you're talking 60, 90, 100 days. Sometimes they say it takes almost 150 days to change a habit. Well, that's getting close to half a year, right? So it takes time, but it takes time to change that habit. But like that, you'll revert back. That's how strong those paradigms are. And look at something maybe you've tried to break. Maybe you've gone on a diet at some point. And so you didn't eat sweets. And then all of a sudden you kept waning off, and one day you ate sweets, boom, that was over. You reverted back. It's not an easy task of what I'm saying, but you can do it. So Thomas Edison said, if we did all the things we are capable of doing, we would literally astonish ourselves. If we did all things we're capable, see, you are far more capable of doing things than you realize. In fact, you or nobody else knows what you're capable of. Nobody knows all the gifts that you have. You haven't even tapped into all the gifts you've been given. What if you didn't realize you were capable of doing something? I thought for years that I needed help with anything on the computer. I just wasn't capable of doing that. And so I would get on my husband for help. I would go to one of my kids when they got older and, ask them for help to do things. And then one day it was like, we're all doing so many different things. Things have changed so quickly that I had to figure it out myself. And what I realized is I can do it. And now, so when I go to try something new in the computer or a new program or a new piece of software I'm using, I used to get really stressed out over it and get really worked up, and get frustrated. And sometimes the tears would come because I just didn't think like I could do it. And now it's like, okay, I'm having a little trouble here, but I can figure this out because I've done this and this and this. And if I figured them out, I can figure this one out too. It doesn't bother me. Now, does that mean there's not a program out there that I couldn't do? Well, of course, there's probably something that's, would really stress me. But I have a confidence that I didn't have, 5, 6, 7 years ago. 5, 6, 7 years ago, it would have been in tears. So we have to realize that. So the question is, how many days have you been doing something that you don't want to do? How many days? I talked to a lady the other week. It's been 15 years. 15 years. I'm asking, how many days have you been doing what you don't want to do? I think it was Steve Jobs that, said, if he would get up every day and, did he want to do what he was doing? If there were too many days in a row that he didn't want it to be doing what he was doing, he stopped. So maybe we have to think of that. But what is it that you really want to do? Now, a lot of times we think we know what we want, and we have this maybe, pie in the sky idea of what we want, but we're not serious. We're not serious that that's what we want. We just, it'd be a nice idea. It's more of a wish or a dream. It's not something we really want to do. So we have to really start to look at that. And when you realize that inside of you, you have the transformational power to change and to acquire that, because if you can see it, you can have it. If you can see it up here, you can have it, just like any inventor. An inventor sees an idea in his mind for an improvement, and then he figures out how to do it. Just like an artist, a Michelangelo or, Da Vinci saw in their minds first, and then they created it. Mozart, if you ever watched the movie Amadeus, Mozart would think these tunes in his head, like he must have been about crazy, just thinking tunes all the time, but the ideas would be all up here. And it was just a matter for him to go from here to the paper so that other people could see the music and then hear it. But the ideas were constantly going. That creative juice was always running in Mozart's head. So what is it that you really want, and that you've got it inside of you? Everything you need, you already have. Everything you need is already here. Just like the Wright brothers. They wanted to fly, right? They went from bicycle mechanic to airplane pilots and designers. But they didn't create new materials. Everything was already here. They just had to figure out how to put it together. Da Vinci already had an idea of what it would look like. He just didn't have the technology part or the right resources to make that into reality. But everything's already here. Nothing's ever been created or destroyed. It's all here. We just have to figure out the right combinations and how to put things together and how to utilize them, and then we can go. So then the question becomes, are you willing to change? Are you willing to do the stuff you need to do and be uncomfortable in order to accomplish your dream? And that's where most people fall short. Oh yeah, they want it. We all want something different, something better, something we don't have. Are you willing to change in order to get it? And like I said, it starts with a decision. You can create your own economy. You can create your own lifestyle. You can create the life that you choose. The question is, are you willing? So Robert Heinlein said this: in the absence of clearly defined goals, we become strangely loyal to performing daily trivia until ultimately we become enslaved by it. And that's what we do. We don't have a clearly defined goal. And if we don't have a clearly defined vision and a goal of what it is we want, then we just allow daily trivia. Now, I'll tell you what, even if you have a goal, you can still fall into this. You can say, but I have a goal, but I still feel like I'm just doing daily tasks that isn't moving the mark. Is it clearly defined? That would be the first thing. It's probably not clearly defined. I know that happened to me for a couple of years. I didn't have a clearly defined goal, or I kept changing it. Well, maybe I want this. Well, maybe I want that. Well, maybe this would be good. Well, maybe that's all right. And I kept changing. You've got to get a clearly defined goal and one that you don't keep changing. And then you have to look at, how am I spending my day? Am I spending my day doing things that aren't going to move me forward? Or am I spending my day doing the things that I know will start to produce my income, or whatever it is that you want to, get to your goal? We have to look at what it is we want and lock in on it, visualize it, focus on it, think about it every day. An inventor Thomas Edison didn't all of a sudden one day say, oh, I think I'd like to figure out a way to make electric light and to make a light bulb. And then the next day say, oh, well, maybe I won't do that. Maybe I don't really care that much about it. No, he focused on it. He experimented and experimented and experimented and experimented and found out, he said, 10,000 different ways it didn't work. They figured it out. So that's what we have to do. You see, it's so simple. And yet that paradigm is just holding us back and keeping us stuck. So it just becomes this vicious cycle. We're just in this cycle of what's going on. Can't figure it out. Gets too hard, we change. Can't figure it out. Gets too hard, and it just keeps going on. You have to start believing in yourself. See what you're doing. Become emotionally involved in it. That's what Napoleon Hill says. We have to become emotionally involved in it. And we have to act. And then remember that quote from Thomas Edison. If we did all the things we are capable of doing, we would literally astonish ourselves. So that's what we're going to do. I want to just tell you, in the next couple episodes, we are going to get really deep into this and how we fulfill the secrets of success, looking at Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, and how we can utilize those in our lives to actually accomplish what we want to accomplish. Now, if this is helpful to you and you would like to have more information on how you can work with me, and I have various options, something for every level of what you want to invest in yourself. And I'd love to invite you into my Facebook group. We can do that too. So what I would like you to do is to reach out. I put the link in the show notes here, so you can just go to that link and you can book a call with me. And I would love to help you in any way that I can to achieve your goals, because I know what a difference it's made in my life. Learning this information, it's absolutely changed how I look and see the world. You see, it's changed my perception of what's going on. And it's helped me to realize that I have to look at the world in a different way if I'm going to accomplish my goal. So I hope that all makes sense to you. If you have any questions, by all means, reach out. And remember what Robert Heinlein said: in the absence of clearly defined goals, we become strangely loyal to performing daily trivia until ultimately we become enslaved by it. I don't want you to be enslaved by the daily trivia. I want you to live a glorious life and live the life of your dreams, because I know if you could see in your mind, you can have in your hand. And what you see in your mind can be your physical reality if you're willing and able to change. It's Patricia Stepler with your Inside Power. Make it a great day and utilize the powers that you have inside of you.